how to complete the BTEC Level 3 Unit 6 exam, or an example of how to complete it. I am using the 2017 paper here because that's what my current Year 13s have just done for their mock exam. And I'm looking to give them a particular bit of help. So welcome if you're in my current Year 13 class. Welcome also if you're not in my current Year 13 class, but you're attempting the Level 3 Sound Engineering Unit 6, or quite a lot of other courses use that unit as well. So anything to do with BTEC Music Technology, welcome. I have some things here that I'm going to be referring to. I've got them on my second screen. I have a mark scheme, which I'm going to refer to periodically, and I also have the question paper. You will need access to both of those things, and you will also need access to the 2017 audio files, which I have here. Your teacher should be able to download these for you from edXL Online, and they are available as a zip file. I've also got the grade boundaries for this particular year. Wasn't a particularly high scoring year. It was about kind of normal. You need 16 marks for an N, 28 for a pass, 40 for a merit, and 52 for a distinction, with maximum possible being 60. What I'm going to show you today, I am pretty confident would be getting a distinction. But I have given myself some restrictions. I am a teacher. I'm not doing my Level 3 BTEC. So you get 15 hours to complete this task. And I gave myself 1 hour this morning to do the actual programming side of things. So what you see here is something that I've produced in an hour. And I'm going to go through piece by piece exactly what I created. I'm actually going to create a second logic file and do it again effectively with you on board. And then I'm also going to show you how to create your edits, and I'm going to show you how to create your production notes. So quite a long video, I anticipate. Hopefully not 15 hours long, but quite a long video. I might do some slices and some cuts and some edits and that kind of thing to try and speed things up a little bit. But let's get into it. So this paper, I think, is quite a nice one. I often use it for my Year 13 exam because I think it prepares people quite nicely. The brief that you have been given: you are a composer who has been commissioned by a television production company, SW9 TV, very catchy, to produce the music for the new series Gamers. The production company wants an energetic and upbeat piece of original music to appeal to gaming fans. SW9 TV has asked that your completed piece of music include audio from all of the files provided. Note, all of the files provided, alongside your original material, your own original material. The completed piece should last between 2 and 4 minutes. My version is exactly 2 minutes long, and by the time the reverb fades out and the delay and that kind of thing at the end, it's just over 2 minutes long, so it fits within that quite nicely. SW9 TV would also like you to provide 2 edits of the piece. I'm going to show you how to do that. One should last 30 seconds and the other 60 seconds. The 30-second edit will be used for the show's opening titles, and the 60-second edit will be used as background music. Now, this one is quite a loose brief. I have noticed over the last couple of years that the brief has been tightening up and has been a little bit more specific. This one, for example, does not contain any information with regards to different sections or tempo information. It just says upbeat. It doesn't say that you have to have a quiet section and a loud section, or a slow section and a fast section, and some of the briefs over recent time have done that. So make sure, please, that you read the paper. It is so important. And there's some information in there which you cannot do without. If you don't do these things, then you cannot get the marks on the mark scheme. There's also no MIDI file for this particular example, and there has been a MIDI file in at least the last 3 years of set tasks. So just be aware that if you have a MIDI track, you need to treat that slightly differently than you would the audio, although it is simply a case of really importing it into a software instrument track, and then you can manipulate. I can't speak today. You can manipulate it to your heart's content. So let me show you what I have come up with to fill this brief. Here we go. There we go. So, it is important at this stage to say, you are not aiming to create the most amazing piece of music, right? That's not a particularly great piece of music. I am not a particularly fine composer. I'm not, okay? You are aiming to demonstrate that you understand how to use a digital audio workstation. At the end of the day, the unit is called DAW production. Right? It is not about the quality of the music that you produce. It is about how well you have used what you've been given as inspiration and source material to then create your own stuff. And I'm going to show you some tips as we go through to help you take what you've already been given and create that into something fresh and something new. So let's get going. I'm going to create a new Logic file. And I'm going to go against Logic's recommendation, and I'm not going to close my current project because I need to refer back to my current project. So I'm going to put my other project on my other screen, and that will give me some reminders as to what I actually did. So I've got a new project here. Now, the first thing that you should do after you have read the exam paper is you should listen to the audio samples that have been provided for you. That is absolutely the first thing you should do. So what I'm going to do, if I can find them, I've got so many windows open now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find the original audio files, which I can't find on my other screen. Where are they? Where are they? Where are they gone? Have I got them on my desktop? No, I haven't. Everything's disappeared. Hang on. Yes, I have got them. Here we go. 2006. There we go. So, sorry about that. Here are the files. Now, all of ours are WAV files or WAV files. And the first job simply is to listen to them. So let's drag in our files. Literally going to do... interesting. That one contains tempo information. Let's import it. Ah, yes, that is the one which is set at 120. I will refer back to that piece of information more in just a moment. Then we have this one.
Next level.
Now, there is always at least one sample in these papers that has some quite obvious things wrong with it. Now, in this case, the 2017 paper, that is the one, right? We have some rumble at the beginning, which is, well, we have some rumble throughout, actually, which isn't terribly pleasant. And then I don't know what happened afterwards, but something's been captured that wasn't necessary. So beware of that. We're going to edit it down later. Then we have this one. Now that one is what I call the curveball. There is one every year, which is a sample that just in no way seems to fit with the brief. Okay, in no way. And that is that one. Then we have this one. big fan of that one. I actually use that as the basis for my entire track, but there's something we need to do to it before we can do that. And then we also have, hang on, I'm trying to import a PDF file into Logic. That will not go so well. We also have this one. Okay, which, if you're paying attention, I used for the very beginning of my track. So we have some useful stuff here. The first thing that you should be doing is you should be listening to them and you're going, okay, which one of these fits with the brief? Which ones of these? Which of these fits with the brief? And I think, you know, we can use that. That's pretty much not going to need much doing to it. It's got the nice sort of little arcade sounds at the end of the percussion loop. We should definitely use that. There is something weird about it, which I'm going to show you. No, sorry, there isn't anything weird about that one. That was pretty good. It's at 120 BPM, which fits with the upbeat requirement of the brief. And pretty much we should be able to use it without doing anything to it. This one, as I've said, is the one with some problems, but that next level in the middle is going to be incredibly useful for us because our brief is about gaming. So, you know, that's going to work quite nicely. Our curveball. Okay, you probably didn't spot this one, unless you were really paying attention, in my finished version. I actually didn't use any of the vocal whatsoever. I just used a drum beat and I did some manipulation with it, and that's where I came out. This one. Very useful, you know, it's sort of in the electronic retro gaming theming style thing, so we could definitely use that. Unhelpfully, it's not at 120 BPM, so it doesn't currently fit with this one. But a good opportunity there for us to show our audio manipulation skills and actually be able to make them so that they do fit together. And then this last one. Very handy, again, is going to be super useful. So where did I start? I'm actually going to take all of these out because what I don't want is to have them all at the beginning of the track. So do listen to them first, and then I suppose I could do this all as one thing, couldn't I? There we go. Delete 3 tracks. Delete. There we go. So I'm going to put in an audio track. And where I started was I started with the synth melody and the useful drum loop, okay, which is this one, if I remember rightly. This is the one that contains tempo information. Tempo. Okay, now that is nicely at 120 beats per minute, and that is going to form the basis of our entire track. Okay, it doesn't need anything doing to it. It's absolutely fine and it's absolutely useful. Okay, worth noting, it is a percussion track. It is not a drum track, so we're going to supplement it a little bit later with a drum track. The other one that I'm going to use is, I think it's the synth. And before I do that one, we have already listened to it once and we know that it is not at 120 beats per minute. Therefore, it is not going to stay in time with that drum loop. If I whack this in here, just to give you another demo, it is... Oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. It's this one, the melody. Is that it? I think it is. Okay, if I put that in, that is not going to fit. Okay, by default, that is not going to fit. But can we do anything with that? Yes, we can. Because thanks to the amazing Logic Pro, we already have some tools which we can use. So if we go to File, and we go to Project Settings, okay, not the main Logic settings, one of the options here is Smart Tempo. I'm going to click on Smart Tempo, and it's going to open up various different things. But the one that we're interested on is defaults for flex and follow region setting. Okay, set new recordings to off, set imported files to off. No, if we pull down off and we select align bars and beats, whatever we now put into Logic is going to automatically sync itself to 120 BPM. Now, Pearson, the people that set these exams, have not been as helpful as they could be, but they have given us a decent audio sample. Now, I'm going to put it here after the original one. Now, if I've done everything right, that should now be syncing. Well, it is at 120 BPM. However, Pearson have not been terribly helpful in that Pearson have given us something with an upbeat. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. Okay, that is not helpful. So if we just stick it in, and we flex it to 120, it still doesn't actually fit. Listen. Okay, that is now the same speed as the click, but the click is not aligned with the downbeat, the first beat of the bar. So we need to do our first bit of audio manipulation. Worth saying at this point, I'm not doing my production notes as I go along. There's a simple reason for that, and that in my school we can't do our production notes like that because the computers that we have with Logic on do not have a word processor on. So what I have to get my students to do is do all of the audio creation first, then take a load of screenshots, and then create the production notes. Okay, if I look here, okay, there's one note which comes before the downbeat. Ba-dum. Okay, I can't sing. That note is here. Right, that is actually the start of what we want. So we need this point of the audio trace to be at the first beat of the bar. I happen to be in bar 11, so I'm going to put that there. Now remember, if you're moving audio around and you want additional control, as in you want to turn off snapping temporarily, you hold the control key on your keyboard. That looks about right to me. Not quite. I'm actually going to align this one because this is a better downbeat. That is better. Okay, now that therefore should now fit with this. Let's find out. Okay, they now fit together. That is a brilliant basis for this track. We haven't had to do very much, but we have already demonstrated some fantastic technique that we can put in our production notes and say, look, I understand how to manipulate an audio file. Is that on the mark scheme? Hell yes, it's on the mark scheme. So it's very, very important. Okay, I think I am happy with that alignment. But what I'm not happy with is the fact that we've got an upbeat. Because if we have an upbeat and we use the loop tool, it's probably going to throw our loop out as we move forwards. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to slice up this beginning. So I'm going to take off that upbeat. I'm actually confusing myself because I've got them the other way round in my my model that I'm working from. Okay. Okay, and because of the upbeat, we've also ended up with a tiny little bit of silence at the very end of that file. Can you hear that the end of the sound effect is very slightly before the end of the drum loop? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to only use 4 bars of it. So I'm going to take a snip here by going Command T. I'm going to get rid of that entirely. Now I'm going to loop this out by dragging in the top right hand corner, and what that actually does okay, because I was careful with my alignment in the first place, and if things aren't working for you, it means you haven't been careful with your alignment in the first place, then things will get worse, right? If you've got a little bit of extra or a little bit of under and then you use the loop tool, it's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. So it's really worth being precise at this stage so that you can do a lot of copy and pasting and that kind of thing and generate a lot of extra time in your piece without actually having to do a whole load of stuff. Have we done anything musical so far? No. Right, I'm trying to switch off my musician's brain. Now that's hard because I've been a musician for a very long time and it comes quite naturally to me after, oh crikey, 30 odd years. But I've tried really hard to do that. Now, okay, I recognize that there was an upbeat, so that is something that you're going to need to spot for yourself, right? But if things just aren't lining up, ask yourself, is it because there's an upbeat or something strange going on? At the end of the day, you are music technologists. You are not expected to be musicians. You're not doing A-level music. You're doing level 3 music technology. So trial and error is an inevitable part of what we are doing. Those two now fit together quite nicely as a loop. Okay, they do. And I'm going to do one more thing before I launch into the main part of the track, which is I've decided to use the blom, blah, 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 as a little intro, because I think it works really nicely. Now, note, I've still got on the setting in project settings where I want it to align bars and beats. Now, I don't think I actually need it for what I'm about to do, because I'm pretty sure that that is at 120 BPM anyway. I think it's this one. Right, I'm going to put it on a fresh track. Is that right? Now, I'm pretty sure that was at 120 anyway, but it doesn't matter because I would have used that. Later on, I'm going to need to turn that setting off because I don't want it to apply to all of the tracks that I'm about to import. So here we go, bringing this up. Has that snapped? Or has that gone slightly early? I hope that's going to work out. I'm just a little bit worried about... It's fine there. I'm just a little bit worried about this. We're very slightly in advance. I just hope that's not going to cause us problems when we loop later. We can sort them if they do. Now that is the intro of my track. Okay, and so far I haven't created anything fresh at all, but I've got a decent intro, a decent starting point for the rest of the track. Now, if we throw over our mark scheme just for a moment, okay, the first criterion on here is demonstrate knowledge and understanding of MIDI skills and techniques. 15 marks out of 60. Okay, a quarter of your marks are going to come from your MIDI programming. And so far, we have got no MIDI programming in here at all. So we need to take this opportunity to start adding some original material. So I love a riser, right? They are so good for filling up time, especially if you're not a natural musician. If you're not a keyboard player, then and you don't know much about musical harmony, you don't know much about notes and that kind of thing, they are incredibly useful. So are arpeggiators, and we're going to use both of those in our next little section. Excuse me, just having a quick slurp of tea, keeping myself going in what is going to be, I think, what is going to be quite a long video. Now then, we need some notes to work with. Do we have some notes to work with? Yes, we do. We have this. Okay, now, the inner musician in me is desperately trying to get out, and I'm trying not to let him. That uses a 5-note scale, okay, a pentatonic scale, as so much music does. Okay, it is a really, really, really simple scale. The next thing that I did at this point is I worked out what notes are in that bass line. Right? It took me about a minute. It's probably going to take you a bit longer than that if you are not a natural keyboard player. But you need to use your trial and error. Okay, I'm literally going to put on another piano track so that my keyboard is armed. And I'm going to do it as a grand piano track, like the Steinway. Okay, and my keyboard. Now, the amount I'm going to be using the keyboard in here is not actually worth me having... I debated putting my camera up and having picture-in-picture, but for the length of the video, it's not worth having because it's so simple. It really is, right? That bass line, this bass line, let's just remind ourselves, this one here, only uses the following notes. A, I'm on the wrong track. No, I'm on solo. Only uses the following notes. A, B, D, E, and F. Okay, that is it. Now, one of those notes is more important than the others, and that is the B. Okay? That is the keynote. How do I know that's the keynote? Because it's the one that it starts. Okay? There it is. Most stuff like this is going to start on its keynote when it's provided for these exams, in my experience. Okay? Can't remember it myself. Hang on, let me put it on cycle. And let's just hear it. Okay, now, A, B, A, I can't play the keyboard today either, apparently. A, B, D, E, and F. Right? They are going to be the only notes that we are ever going to use in this entire project. Okay? They are guaranteed to fit with everything that is in this project. We're going to make them fit with everything. And we're going to use that B, the keynote, as something particularly important. Now, I told you I wanted to use a riser. So I'm going to go into my sounds. I'm going to search for a riser. Now, I have already been through many. Right? Choose one. Right, I'm literally holding a B. Okay, I went through lots of different risers and I said, you know what kind of works with this? Okay, and the one that I landed on quite quickly, because I knew I only give myself an hour to create all of this, was Bike Riser. I'm on solo again, so you can't hear one. Okay, now the beauty of the riser is it will fit itself to whatever tempo you have set. So we have set our project to 120 BPM. I'm actually going to change this to custom because one of the things that I like to be able to see always is all of this information, but I also like to be able to see what's going on in terms of how much time we've already gone. So you can see we've got our timer up in the corner now, which is quite handy. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to hold a B. I'm actually going to hold two Bs, an octave apart. Okay, while that intro plays, and I'm going to add a little bit of extra texture and a little bit of extra interest and some MIDI programming, crucially. Here we go. That's it. That's all I'm doing. But can you see those notes that are recorded are not there? Why is that? Because they haven't been quantized. Right, they are not showing because I played them very slightly in front of the beat, and as a result, the computer will not play them back. So I'm going to select both of them. I'm going to click on the very handy quantize right there. Oh, look, more sequencing technique for us to put in our production notes in just a little bit. I like that. Right? Very simple, but very effective, right? Do you need to be a musical genius to be able to do that? No, you do not. You just need to have some tricks up your sleeve and a little bit of experience. Excuse me, more tea, which is what this is all about. Tea's going cold, actually, so must already be a very, very, very long video. On we crack. What are we going to do? I said to you earlier that this was a percussion loop. Okay, it's got some really nice, interesting things in it for the gaming side of things. But is it like drums? No. Okay, do we have the scope to add a little bit more on there? Yes, we do. So, new software instrument track. I love programming drums. It's so easy to do on Logic. It really is. Note, don't use an auto drummer. Don't use drum loops. You won't get any credit for them. Much better to do a really simple bit of programming yourself. Now, again, when I was working through my own, I searched through, I went on the electronic drum kits and, I found some things and looked through. And I saw straight away, I landed on this one. You know what? Arcade Frenzy. What are we doing at the end of the day? We are creating something for a gaming TV show. So, at least, yeah, it is a TV show, isn't it? Yeah, 'cause it's a TV production. If you're going through there and you're doing a horror brief, which has happened in the last couple of years, and you see something on there that sounds like horror or looks like horror, check it out, because it's probably going to have a whole load of really useful features for you. So here's our drum track, right? And all I'm going to do is record really simple bass track. We need to find a kick drum. Oh, hello. Is that what I wanted? Oh, hang on. Let me check my original. What did I do over here? What did I do over here? Arcade Frenzy. Hope my computer can cope with having this many Logic programs open at the same time. What did I do? Bass drum. Oh, yeah. I did use that one. It didn't sound like what I was doing before. Yeah. That snare is quite gamey, isn't it? Yeah, it's quite good for our gaming thing. So you can make this as complicated as you like. If you're a drummer, you could do some really complicated bit of program here. I am not a drummer, right? I'm not. I'm also not going to have it come in straight away, right? One of the things that you're going to learn over the course of this video is how important it is to change your texture and change your ideas regularly so that you keep your listener interested. So, we've got our intro. Percussion comes in here. Okay, it would make sense for our drums to start somewhere around there. Okay, it really would. Oh, my computer is suddenly struggling with 2 Logic files open. Where did I start it? Oh, no, sorry. I started it in bar 7, right? Groups of 4 bars are really, really useful. We've got a 2-bar group at the start, and then we've got a 4-bar group. I'm going to start my drums here in bar 7, and I could just do bass, snare, bass, snare, bass, snare. Okay, that would be fine, right? Again, it is not about creating the most exciting piece of music. It is about demonstrating you understand how to use a digital audio workstation. Right? So I'm going to hit record, and I'm going to funk it up just a little bit. I'm just going to add a few extra bits onto it. But you don't have to, right? You really don't. Okay? That's all I did. Right? Just played bass and snare, you had one double hit on the kick. That's it. What do we always do when we've just done software instruments? We quantize them so we're nicely and in time. Okay, I'm going to put it on solo because you can barely hear it. We're going to fix that in a minute. Okay, sounds gamey, works, quite happy with that. Can you hear it? No, you can't. What can we do about that? Well, we have a digital audio workstation, so the obvious thing to do would be to stick a compressor on it and get a bit more punch out of there. Okay, let's have another go. Let's use the cycle tool as well to help me out. Right? Still not really going to be able to hear that. Now, could adjust the settings or could just turn up the input gain. That's already sounding better. Oh, look. Maybe a little bit more. Not doing too much for a bit boomy. Now, you might want to use a different setting. You've got loads to choose from. Okay, now I could have used a gain utility, but why would I do that when I can already take the opportunity to add a little bit of simple, really simple compression? Now, you can change the settings if you want. Okay, you can. It certainly wouldn't hurt, right? Fiddle around with it as much as you can. Remember, you've only got 15 hours, right? I was working fast. I did this in an hour, right? So I didn't hang about too much. I made sure I had enough technique. I didn't spend too long, spending 9 hours EQing my kick drum. I didn't do that, which is what you do in a professional studio. You haven't got time for that. You've only got 15 hours. Okay, how's our track sounding? I'm liking it already. Here come those drums. Amazing. Absolutely love it. Okay. Really, really, really straightforward. We're going to come back to that kit in just a minute. Oh, I've just noticed something. Hang on my other project. Oh, Logic is really not happy having two nearly identical projects running next to each other. Hang on, let me just check something out. Oh, it's like Inception. You've got Logic files within Logic files. There's our... Oh, it's okay. I added something into the drums later. I thought maybe I'd already done it. But I didn't. What's that gap about, though? Is that supposed to be there, or is things messing me up? There's an arpeggiator there. We're about to talk about that. Oh, no, that's fine. It's literally, that gap is supposed to be there. It's fine. Good. So, arpeggiators. Unbelievably useful. Okay, unbelievably useful. If you don't know much about chords, or you don't know much about playing the piano, an arpeggiator is your friend. Remember, we are only using 4 notes, A, B, D, E, and F. That's it. An arpeggiator can make it sound like we know a lot more about it than we actually do. Okay, so I'm going to add in an arpeggiator, new track. Here we go. And if you can't find arpeggiators, they're on the first. They should be on the first page anyway. I'm going to go into synth basics. Now, the one that I used is called Basic Pattern. Right now, if I... Okay. Now, depending on where you are on your keyboard, you might have high one. You might have a low one. Okay. I want to be about here. Okay, that is me holding our 5 notes, an A, a B, a D, an E, and an F in the arpeggiator. And like the riser, it is unbelievably helpful because it fits into the timing for you. Okay, so we actually had a little bit longer of this on the original. I'm really confusing myself by having to open here. I just need to loop this out a little bit. No, I don't. We're all good. Ignore me. I feel like I've got more stuff in the original. Hang on. I am confusing myself. I'm also confusing Logic with these different Logic files open. Sorry. High quality video making happening right here, right now. Okay, I'm trying to make it so it comes out at exactly the right length of the same number of bars, you see. So my arpeggiator should start, what is that, bar 11, which is here. So yes, I am going to need to loop these out just a little bit more. It's really not happy. This is a very powerful iMac, but it's not happy running 2 Logic files side by side. So I'm looping my drums as well, which is absolutely fine. I'm going to start my arpeggiator at bar 11, and I'm literally going to hold it down. I'm in the wrong track. I'm literally going to hold it down. Okay, while I play, and then I'm going to put it through the quantizer. That's it. Okay, I can press it in. Okay, really, really simple. Now, you'll notice those notes have not appeared again because they are not quantized. So let's do that. And I'm going to take the opportunity to even them up to the end of the bars as well. Okay, sounds very sort of 80s, 90s guitar, computer game kind of thing. Okay, I want a little bit more of that, so I'm going to level up just a smidge. Okay, and how many bars did I have that for? I had that for 4 bars. So I'm going to pull everything out just a little bit longer. Not like that, Mr. SC. There we go. I'm going to take everything out. Hopefully, we're going to have no problems with our drum loop being out of sync. Okay, now, we've had 4 bars. So in our 4 bars, at the end of our 4 bars, we normally change something. Our ear is going, you know what, I've had enough of that now, I need something new. Okay, here's our percussion loop. At the end of 4 bars, we added in the drums, like this. Okay, working in 4s is such a good way of doing things. Here's another 4, we add in the arpeggiator. Just a little bit of extra texture. Okay, it makes it so much more interesting. What I did there was I went, you know what? I don't want a completely new idea, but I want to change something. And also, I want to think to my mark scheme, because, you know, I'm always thinking about my mark scheme. If you look over here, one of the things which is mentioned in the 10 to 12 area is transposition. Okay? If you want to include an example of transposition, you are literally on mark scheme. What is transposition? It's taking something. If I just shut the mark scheme down, yeah, I think I have. Better open that. We're going to need it again. Now I have to make it smaller. It's all going wrong. This is what happens when you make videos in real time. There we go. Okay. What we could do is we just take this. Transpose just means change the pitch of something. Okay. And boy, is that easy to do with, well, anything on Logic because it's a software instrument. But it's really easy to do with this because all I'm going to do is I'm going to paste it in there. And come down to the editor, which if it's not open is E. Okay, and I'm going to select all of the notes, making sure I'm in the second half of one. Now, if you want to take something up an octave or down an octave, or up 9 octaves or down 9 octaves, all you need to do is work in 12s. We've been working in 4s because there are 12 semitones in an octave, right? So if we grab hold of this one and we drag it out, you see it's +1, +2, +5, +6. If we go up to +12... overshot. Okay, that is now an octave higher than it was. Okay, so it just gives us an extra little shift. There's the low one. Okay, it's a little change, but it's new texture, it's new stuff. I'm going to keep looping these things out. Okay, so that I am up to date. Now, am I being creative? Not really, but am I demonstrating decent MIDI programming that's quantized and where it should be and, you know, using different... Of course I am. Can all of this go in my production notes? Absolutely it can. Absolutely it can. Okay, we are demonstrating that we understand how to use a digital audio workstation. Okay, what did I do at that point? Let me just make sure that I'm getting everything right. Oh yeah, I decided that it was time for a new section. Okay, I decided that actually I'd had enough now with the first bit, and I've used 3 of the samples already, and I've got, how much time have I got? I've got 36 seconds. Okay, so we've got a quarter of what we need for our minimum. Okay, it's time for something new. I was quite happy with all of that. What I haven't used so far is the robot, and I thought at this point, you know what, I'm going to use the robot. So there is the robot as it happens. That's a different robot file. What am I doing? I keep closing down things that I need. There it is. Having 2 screens is great, but can also cause much confusion, especially when you're only recording one of said screens. Right, so we need the robot. I decided that that was the next best thing for us to do. So I'm going to take the robot and I'm going to give it its own track. Right, because the first thing we're going to need to do, we've already decided, is we're going to need to do some audio editing.
Next level.
Aha! I've made a mistake, right? Because I don't want this one to be at 120 BPM. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the project settings. Just a reminder of how I did that. File, project settings. And should have gone really straight to Smart Tempo. These tabs are all on the top, if you're not sure. And I just turned it off, because what I actually want is I want this one to stay at its original pitch. Be careful with that. Okay, and now we have...
Next level.
Right, we have some pretty horrible rumble. And then, goodness knows, sounds like someone was making his tea in the background. Okay, we don't want that. So let's do some editing. Where does next level actually happen?
Next level.
Okay, it's quite easy to see on the audio trace where that actually is. So I'm going to go about there.
Next level.
Yeah, that happens to be in snip, which is good. So I'm going to cut there. Okay, and get rid of that.
Next level.
Okay, now I don't actually need
Next
much.
level.
There we go. Don't have to be particularly precise about the ending. We don't want any of that.
Next level.
Okay, now that's fine. We could use it like that.
Next level.
But do we need another opportunity to show off some technique? Of course we do. That's what we're here for. We're here to get a distinction and get a distinction star overall in our level 3 sound engineering course. Excuse me, on the T again. Okay. So,
Next level.
is there an easy way that we can get rid of that low rumble and grumble, which is on there? It doesn't make it sound very nice. Yes, there is. Okay, you have done Unit 13. If you've done this course, if you're taking the Unit 6 exam, you will have learnt about basic mixing and mastering. And is there a way that we can roll off those low frequencies? Yes, we can use an EQ. So let's do it. Okay, so I'm going to open up an EQ, and it doesn't really matter which one I'll use. I'm going to go to EQ tools. I'm going to use one called Hum Killer. Right, at the end of the day, we are trying to get rid of something. You can see that rolls off the bottom quite nicely. Let's see if that's enough. I don't think it is off the top of my head, remembering it previously.
Next level. Next level.
No, okay, so what we need... Oh, get rid of the click track for this.
Next level.
Okay.
Next level. Next level. Next level.
Oh, look at that.
Next level.
We roll off all of the bottom,
Next level.
and suddenly
Next level.
we've got a nice little sample that we can use. Okay, and I'm going to sample that. So the thing that I would do next with this is I'm actually going to bounce a new version of that. Right, you can see that I've got it in my project. There's what I've just done in my other ones. Use the beach ball of death. Okay, I've got it there, and I had it on mute the whole time. But I then created a fresh track with the sampler on. So I'm going to use the cycle tool. Oh, my computer is really not happy. Okay, and I'm going to bounce just that. To bounce, I go Command or Windows B. And I may as well do it in the standard settings, which is 16-bit and 44.1 kilohertz. I'm going to do it as a WAV file, so PCM, not MP3, no compression necessary at this stage. And I'm going to call it, there's one there already, so it's going to tell me that it doesn't want it. Let's replace it. There we go. And now on my desktop,
Next level.
okay, I've got
Next level.
just that robot
Next
voice,
level.
which is perfect and ready for sampling. So I'm going to mute that. I'm not going to delete it because I might want to come back to it later. I might need it again. Hint, I probably am going to need it again later. But I want to sample that, and I'm going to create a bass line out of it. So I'm going to take my robot, and if you are on a recent version of Logic, you will have the quick sample optimized option that you can throw in, and you'll get this screen. Now, if you're used to working on a computer which is an older version of Logic, which is the case with several of our computers in Linghall School, then you will have things like the ESX24. You can use that instead. Okay, it's exactly the same, really. This one's just got a nicer interface. Okay, the ESX24, is it ESX or EXS? Whichever. The old sampler is perfectly functional. It's not quite as spangly and easy to use, but it does, I think, certainly for our purposes, do just about everything that you want the current one to do. Okay, now what this has done, it has put our next level audio soundtrack onto a new sample track. You can even play chords and that kind of thing. Really important, right? Turn on follow tempo. Hit the flex time button.
Next level. Next level. Next level. Next level. Next level.
And now it's usable in different pitches. Okay. What I did on my previous version, I've got another beach ball of doom.
Next level. Next level. Next level. Next level.
I only used notes that were found
Next level. Next level. Next level. Next level. Next level.
in our existing pentatonic scale. Do you remember? We had A, B, D, E, F. Okay, all I did was I just started on a B, because I always start on a B, it's our keynote. And I just made up a bass line of 4 notes. I went B, D, A. In fact, it's only 3 notes. B, D, A, B. And I just played around until I found something that I wanted. And I'm literally going to record that now. Can't do that without a click track. Hang on a tick. Yep, 2 beats on each. That's what I recorded previously. There we go. Okay, give us a little 2-bar thing to work with. Make sure you are quantizing everything. And, take some time for attention to detail. Make sure that they're not crossing over. Okay, do we have what we want? Yes, we do. Okay, that's a perfectly functional bass line. It works really quite nicely. Okay. Let's see how that joins onto our track. Up the octave. Keeps the ear interested. How's this transition? Let's find out. Sound better when the click track leaves. I then made the decision to just reuse my drum loop that I'd already done. I had it coming in after 1 bar, I think. Yeah, I did. So it came in at bar 21. And I just looped out Mr. Robot, who I think sounds pretty cool, really. And that gave us this. Click off. Now, I did add in a little bit more interest here, because when I was playing around with Arcade Frenzy, I noticed... I've just duplicated the track, by the way, so I can have a separate one. I noticed that some of the sounds on this are really sort of computer gamey, which is excellent. So I just threw in a couple of extra little ones like this. Okay, I've just chucked in a couple of extra ones in there. I'm going to quantize those, of course. I feel like there should be another one in there that I missed out. Good old pencil tool. Draw it in. Let's just check that's right. Now you got loads of other things on your keyboard. Okay, I just decided to use that one because it worked for me, and then I looped that out for a bit. How far did I loop it out? We went out to bar 29, 30, bar 31. Bar 31. It's very strange making another project for a project that you've already done. Very strange. Yeah, so we've already got lots and lots and lots of software instrument work, lots of MIDI programming happening, which I said was so important. I wanted something melodic. Well, melodic, yeah, something a little bit more tuneful. Listen to this. Bass. Okay, I wanted something that's sort of halfway between a melody and some chords. And on my version, On my version, they're both my version. I did this. Okay, I thought it'd be a little bit creepy, you know, put a little bit of tension in. In fact, that starts at bar 20. What is that? Bar 23. That starts at, and I found a synth pattern, a synth patch that I liked. You know, that's all I did. Software instruments. Now I'm going to tell you straight away that it's called Decay Mod Chords. Why has it done that? I hate it when it does that. It should put them in order. Okay, so if I just search for Decay, there it is. Okay, now I just found a bit that I was happy with on the piano. It's about there. Could be anything you want. Could do it differently. Okay, now can you predict, gentlemen in my year 13 class, or ladies if anyone else is watching, can you predict what notes I used? Right, I literally just used the A, the B, the D, the E, and the F. Okay, now I thought I could play them as a chord. I could, but I don't want to. So I did this. Now, I've been playing piano for years. It might be that to do something like that, you need to practice it for 5-10 minutes or half an hour. Don't spend too long on it. But, you know, it's not rocket science. All I did was play it in time with the click track, and we're going to be able to quantize it anyway. So here we go. Whoops. He says getting it wrong on the first attempt. That's good. Okay, is that right? I've got everything in the right place. Hang on a tick. Quantize everything. Now you see, I've done it an octave lower than I did last time. I don't like it, so I'm just going to change it. Okay, I just went up plus 12. Remember 12? I could go up 24 if I wanted. Go up another 12. There you go. How does that sound? I think that's actually where I had it before, and actually I quite like that, so I'm going to keep that there. Now then, we're always looking for opportunities to use technique, to show our examiner that we understand how to use a digital audio workstation. Are we demonstrating that the world's greatest musician? No, we're demonstrating that we understand how to use the sequencer. So I thought, you know what? Let's stick some automation on this because it's a good opportunity. Why don't I automate some dynamic, and why don't I also automate some pan? Because if you look at your mark scheme, and you go down to, I think it's the third criterion. Yes, it is. It talks about, in the 13 to 15 mark bracket, the top mark bracket, as it talked about in this one as well, but it's in the top mark bracket, evidence of the creative use of automation, changing levels, pan, and effects in the musical mix. Okay, pan. It's mentioned by name. I've just closed the mark scheme again. It's not going well. It's not. Maybe I need a break. You guys probably need a break. If you're watching me in double speed or, you know, faster on YouTube, good on you. I better sound a little bit weird, but you know, it'll probably there. I'll do my best anyway. I'm going to automate some pan, okay, and some dynamic. It's too loud for a start, so let's start. We add our automation pan in, and I'm literally just going to zoom in a bit so I can see what I'm doing. Right, I'm going to have the volume go up and down as the pitch goes up and down. Really old technique, really old sort of sheet. So I'm going to put one dot all along here. Right, I don't need to be super precise with it. Okay, I'm just sort of doing every high point and every low point. Right, and then I'm literally going to create triangles. Okay, now what level you actually pick is entirely up to you. Be consistent. Okay, 4.9. We'll try it out in a second. If it's sounding good, we'll keep it. If it's not, we'll get rid of it. Pretty much the golden rule of audio engineering. Oh, I'm under pressure because I'm doing it on camera. 4.9. Remember, if you need more control over it, hold control. 10.9. Now, when you loop this, the automation will loop with you, so you only need to do it once. But my advice is create a short loop of it. And that way, when you need the automation, if they're the wrong levels, we're going to have to go through and change them all manually, which is a little bit annoying. 10.9. There we go. Let's see what that sounds like. Yeah, if I was in my exam, I'd go, you know what? I'm demonstrating some technique and that sounds fine, right? I'm not going to go, oh, no, I'm not happy with that. I need to adjust it by 0.02 decibels, right? That's a waste of time. You've only got 15 hours, okay? If you've got spare time at the end and you want to come back and you want to play around with your volume automation until your heart's content, please do, but don't spend too long on it. I am, however, also going to go to main and pan, and I'm going to automate the pan. Okay, so 0 is in the middle, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to put the dots on, same as I did before, and I'm just going to have that moving around a little bit. Now, is this creative? Is it good enough for level 3 music technology? Yes, it is. Okay, so stuck some dots in. I'm going to go the same level of pan downwards. I'm going to go, oh, what should we do? 30. It doesn't want to do 30, it wants to do 29. I could have held control. Okay, I'm going to go 29, 29, 29. Oh, it's 27. How annoying. There you go. I'm now holding control. Oh, trying to work quickly, and actually it's not helping me at all. What's the expression? Less haste, more speed? Or is it... I never know. Is it the other way around? Less haste, more speed? I don't know. Regardless. Go faster. 29, 29, 29. There we go. Like I said, if you do this in loop and then loop it, it should change it automatically for you. What does that sound like? Oh, look at the pan going up and down. Does that work? Yes. Does it demonstrate a bit of extra technique? Yes, it does. Let's keep it. Okay. What did I do next? I think I probably looped that out a fair old bit. Yes, I did. I looped that out all the way to bar 31. I looped everything out to bar 31, in fact. And then I used another riser. Because they're so useful. What did I say? 31. Where I've already been there. That's good. Bar 31. Just check that volume automation has looped. Oh, that's annoying. Why hasn't it done that? I'm sure last time it did. Why has that not worked? Really annoying. Okay, if you want to get around it easily, copy and paste it. So I'm copying and pasting that, and I'm hoping now that that's gone across. There we go. Just realised that we're actually distorting on our master fader. Hope you guys are getting the right level of sound on your video. There we go. I'm now worried I've been recording for an hour or so and I'm not loud enough. No, we should be okay. I can always fix it. Fix it in post, as it were. At bar 27, I decided that it's time for something new, right? We've been adding in, we did 2 bars of just the robot, then we had 4 bars with the 2 bars with the drum, then 2 bars with this coming in, and it's all working out quite nicely. We need something new because otherwise the ear is going to start to get bored. And I love a riser, and it's so easy to do that I just stuck another one in for a build-up. So I created a new track. The one that I decided to use is called Chunky Riser. Okay. There it is. Okay, and I decided again to do 2 of them. So I went from bar 27 to bar 31, and I guess which note I used, guys? I used B, our key notes. Okay, that's in there. The notes have disappeared because I played them before the beats. Click on quantize. Right, do I like those particular notes? I think I might want it an octave lower. So if I want it an octave lower, what do? We just go down 12. Oh no, maybe not. Maybe not. Okay, yeah, let's just keep it there. Fine, whatever. I'm also going to automate it so it gets louder and helps to build up the tension. There we go. No, I've decided I don't like it down there. I'm going to put it back up the octave. Where's he gone? Seriously, where's he gone? My notes have disappeared. There they are. Oh, that sounds a bit strange, doesn't it? There we go. Let's try that. That'll do nicely. That will do nicely indeed. Okay. What did I do at that point? Well, I went, you know what? I kind of need a new section. Let's listen to what we've got so far. I quite like this. And it's full of sequencing technique. There's the riser. So we've got one sample that we have not used at all. And we're coming towards the start of what should be a new section. We have exactly a minute's worth of track, in fact, so we're about halfway through the minimum requirement. You can do more than 2 minutes if you wish, but there's no need to. So long as you're between 2 and 4 minutes, you have fulfilled the brief. I often tell students to aim for 3, but that's only to give you enough space to include all of your ideas, as it were, if you need more space. But 2 minutes will be absolutely fine. Now, the sample that we haven't used is probably the most challenging of those, because it's the one that doesn't naturally fit with our brief. Okay, and in terms of which one it is the vocal one. It's this one. I'm going to pop it in here, and this one.
Don't break down. Don't break down.
Okay, now, as I said before, I haven't actually used any of the vocal. I don't think the vocal fits with the brief. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take it out. I'm going to go back to the project settings, and I'm going to adjust smart tempo, and I'm going to change set imported files to align bars and beats, just as I did before. And then I'm going to put that file back in again. Not that one. I'm going to put that file back in again. And then...
Don't break down.
just going to check actually that I'm pretty sure I did retime it previously. Yeah, I must have done. Now, this is where we need to do some audio slicing. And this will be a really good spot in your production notes.
Don't break down.
In your production notes to show some real audio manipulation. Okay, now we've already manipulated it in one way because we've changed the tempo of it, so that's already worthy of comment.
Don't break down.
Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use those first 3 beats.
Don't break.
Okay, but the rest of it's no good to us because the lady starts singing, and we don't want that. So I've put it on so it's snapped into the right place. And then I'm going to trim that up. Now, the other bit that I'm going to use is actually the last thing, because that is on a downbeat. That is on the first beat of a bar, and so that is quite useful. So I'm going to put another cut at the end there. And then I'm going to delete this whole middle. And I'm going to bring it in. And this is where we need a little bit of trial and error, because what I want is to create a complete drum beat. Now, if I've got that first time, I'll be absolutely amazed. Oh, I'm not too far off. Let me just check it against my other one. Hang on a second. Oh, actually, it's snapped for me quite nicely. And then I'm going to trim this in, and that should give us something we can work with. Now, at this point, I want to create one sound, one region out of this. So if I select both of them and I right-click, bounce and join. Now, the easiest way I find to do this is actually not to select join, as you might expect, but to bounce it in place. What that's going to do is it's going to take those audio and it's going to bounce them and then stick it into that spot. Standard settings should be fine. It's going to create a fresh track. Okay, now we have a drum beat that works quite nicely. This track can go. Actually, no, I didn't leave it in the other one, but maybe I should have done. I left the robot in earlier, so purely from an evidence perspective, I'm going to leave it in, because actually when we come to screenshot, it might be quite good to have it. Now, if I loop that, we should have a drum beat. Okay, but we're going to do a little bit more to it than just that. Let me check out exactly what it was that I did. I'm going to open the mixer. And here on this track, we have room to put on some different things. Sorry, my computer's running slowly because I'm doing the same thing in 2 different audio files. Let me just check I've got the right bit. Work on the main screen. So this is my original version. That's this track here. Oh, that's right. Sorry, I was struggling to remember what I'd actually done to it. I've applied some distortion to it to try and make it sound sort of more 8-bit, a bit more sort of retro computer game-ish. But the first thing I did was put some EQ on. And the EQ that I used... Whoop. Sorry, my computer's doing all kinds of weird things now. I thought this was a good idea to run them 2 side by side, but apparently not necessarily. The EQ that I used... yes. I thought I'll just change the timbre. So I wasn't really looking for anything in particular. I just wanted something different. It's now getting confused between my two different versions of Logic. Here we go. So the EQ that I want, I went in and I jumped into drums, and the one that I went straight to, I think, was Punchy Kick. Yeah, there we go. Because it gave me quite a lot of difference, right? It made quite a bit. It changed the timbre. It changed the track. Okay, this boosting of the high mids is quite good for what we're after, which is just something different. So that was the first thing I did. I applied some EQ. Then I put some distortion on. Now, to do distortion, you go to distortion. The one I normally go for is Bit Crusher. And I then just remind myself of the settings I used. Logic seems to work better when I'm over here. There we go. So I had it on. Oh, that's right. I remember what I did. I played around with it basically until I found something that I liked. So here's Bit Crusher on the new one, he says. Mouse that isn't responding to me. No, it still thinks I'm in the other Logic file. There we go. I put it on wrap. And I think I went 8-bit classic. No, I didn't. Hang on a second. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what you do. It's about correcting a sound that works well for you. How do you want 8-bit? 16-bit downshift. That's what I had it on. I'm going to leave that open on my other screen. And then click into the new version. 16-bit downshift. I'm not replicating the same things for some reason. It's not wanting to do exactly what I had. Let me try and match the settings exactly. I think it might be being confused because I've got two different ones going on at the same time. Yeah, I can't have two separate bit crushers open. It seems Logic is having a bit of a... Come on. Having a bit of a mission with that one. You know what? There's a way around this. Screenshot that. Then get rid of that. And then go back into Bit Crusher here. There we go. And then if I look at the screenshot that I've just taken, I could match the settings. Here we go. So I'm on 16-bit downshift, wrap. Drive was at 4 decibels. Resolution was at 8-bit, because that's what sort of retro computer games use. It's a different type of bit, but it's still nice. Downsampling, I'm not sure what I set that to. It was at 13, and then it goes to 100%. And that gives us that. Now, I quite like that because that sounded... Okay, a little bit more sort of retro computer game to me anyway. Let me just get rid of that screenshot. Sorry that took a bit of a while to faff around and get, but it was worth doing. And then I wanted it a lot louder, and it's a drum track. So this one I don't need to refer to the old screenshots. I then just added a compressor until I found something that made it work for me. So put it on cycle, drums. I think I went classic drums. There we go. That's it. I then, it's nice. It works as a drum beat, but I wanted to just pad it out a little bit, make it a little bit richer. So I decided to add a kick drum from another sample. And the one that I chose was one called Electronic Pop, which if I search in here is there. And I just put a kick on the start of each pattern. So bum ba dum bum bum ba dum bum bum ba dum bum bum ba dum bum, and I need, how much do I need? We go up to bar 42 with this. So quite some time actually. There's bar 40. End of bar 42 was it? Hang on, make sure I get it right. Yeah, I went up to 42. So we've got this. No, it's playing my other version. Sorry, it's... There we go. And I literally just stuck a kick on the start of each one. Okay, again, recorded 4 bars worth. Let's get into here. Quantize it. Okay, and you can see that they are all red, quite powerful kick hits here. And this is a good opportunity for us to demonstrate that you understand about velocity. So I'm going to turn all of these up to full whack, 127. Okay, that's just fleshing that out a little bit. And to go further, our old friend, let's add some compression. And I'm going to put a rock kick on that. That's better. Okay, so just fleshed it out a little bit, and then we're going to need to loop that all the way through, giving us this. Okay, so I've created a new drum sample out of the one that was already provided for us. Just going to consult my original, make sure I'm not missing anything out here. There we go. So this section comes in after this bit. After the riser. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. I wanted to put the bass line back in. So at the start of, looks like bar 32, I put the bass line in, but I didn't want to use the next level sample. I wanted to put a fresh bass line in, but using the same notes. So I used one called Arcade Bass Attack. Again, the name seemed appealing to me. Arcade, so it seemed to fit with. You might not be as lucky in your real exam. You might not get something which has, yeah, Arcade Attack Bass. Here we go. Okay, it's quite suitable. So I'm going to take what is on the robot, and because it's a software instrument, even though it's a sampler, I can copy it and I can paste it in at the start of bar 32. Okay, that's working quite nicely. So again, we're sort of reusing material, but we're freshening it up. And then I wanted something actually melodic, right? We haven't really got anything truly melodic. We've got some sort of some filled out chords and some arpeggiator stuff and all that kind of thing. But I wanted to be able to demonstrate that I could include a melody as well. But guess which notes I used, folks? Okay, to do this, again, here's my other Logic file. Just put the tracks in the same order so nobody gets confused. Okay, that melody is only includes the same. It uses the same notes. Okay, I can't even remember what I did. I just played around using notes. Okay, and I just played around until I found something that worked. Now I'm going to copy that melody out of the original project file because I can't remember exactly what I did and I don't want to waste your time. You must have done a bit of that already. I don't want to waste any more of your time by adding stuff, working out what I played before. But really, all I did was use that same track that we've done previously, and I put it on a suitable track sound. Again, I searched for arcade, and it's just called Arcade Attack. And where did I have that coming in? I had that coming in a bar later, I think. Yep, so that came in here. And I'm just going to paste it in. It's actually copied both of them. Didn't want that. Okay, and that sounds like this. It's the same thing twice. I think I very slightly changed a couple of notes on the end. Exactly what I did is not important. Okay, the fact is I just played a simple tune using just those notes, which, as we've already mentioned, B, D, E, F, and A. Okay, and I just messed around, and it took me 3 takes. It might take you 10 takes, but remember, it took me an hour to write this, whereas you've got 15 hours. Well, you haven't got 15 hours for the entire track, but you know what I mean. You got probably 10 times as much time as I have to play around and experiment once you've worked out some notes to work from. And you can see that I've pulled every single note of this out of one of the samples that was provided. At that point, that is pretty much the end of new material. We are at the end. We're at 1 minute and 22 seconds. And I don't think from this point on, I created anything new. All I decided to do at this point was to loop back into our original sample. Okay, so from here, this point on, sorry, my computer's being really weird. I decided to go back into that original synth melody with the same drums. Okay, I whacked in some more robot, which I did for a specific reason, which I'll tell you in a minute. But all I did was reuse our Arcade Frenzy bass part and some of the... Then I brought this melody back in, so I combined my ideas together. Okay, but that's all just copying and paste. There's nothing fresh in there at all. So let me show you how I did that. So I need to make this a little bit narrower. There we go. So it's this one here. And I didn't reuse... I could have reused, but I didn't reuse the percussion loop. I didn't. I think maybe I meant to, but I didn't. Okay, and I had that coming in at bar 41, right, which is overlapping with the end of that. Now this would work, but actually what I did is I automated the volume, another example of automation, to just come in a little bit more gradually. So I want it in by the time we get to the end of bar 42. So over the course of bar 41, I just had it go from nothing back up to its original level. And that should... Let's have a look. Actually want it to come in a little bit more gradually than that. So a bit of trial and error. There we go. Then in bar 40, what will that be? Bar 43, I just brought my my drums back in again. I am really confusing my computer by asking it to work in two different things at the same time. I think I used this one and this one. Yes, I did. Doesn't really matter. Copy both of those. I'm going to put those into... Let's make this narrower. What did I say? Bar 40... Bar 43. That's here. Just post those back in. Okay, we're back in our sort of 80s retro thing going on. And then I'm going to use... Oh, the arpeggiator again. So like I said, I'm just copying. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to throw it out here. I had that coming in at bar 49. Okay, so I'm just going to knock that in. Is that what I meant? Bar 49 up to 61. Do I mean 49? Yeah, apparently I do. Yeah, I had that going on for quite some time. Going up to 61. So all of this needs to go up to 61. Is that right? Yes. So all of this is going up to 61. Oh, yeah, I remember. I put my melody back in, which I told you earlier. I was going to combine my parts. So I'm going to take the arcade attack melody. And I'm going to paste that in from bar 52 to 61, which happens to be where I am. There we go. Okay, that worked quite nicely. Now, the only thing that I did other than that is I didn't like the fact that we still had, if you listen to this, we've still got an upbeat on the end. Okay, it goes bar at the end. It sounds like it's going to go back into something else. So I just trimmed that back and then check. Whoops, not that far. And then check. No, a bit further than that. Bit of trial and error again. That's fine. So I just cut that out, and then at that point I thought, well, I'm pretty much done. But I took the opportunity to just have a look over the exam paper again and use it as a bit of a checklist. Okay, and as I did that, I realised that there was a very obvious effect that I could have used that I haven't used. So it talks about this is application of digital mixing and plugins. It talks about things like pan, levels, and it talks about effects. It's very specific, and it talks about equalization, that's EQ, and it talks about dynamics processing, which we've used in the form of compression. But it's a bit more general than that, and we haven't used any delay. So I thought, oh well, what can I chuck in here to make it sound to give it some delay? And I thought the easiest thing was probably just to use the robot sample again. But I didn't want to put the delay on the original one, so I duplicated the robot sample track that we've already got, put it to the bottom. And I decided to put one on bar 45 and on bar 53. There were just two places that seemed to kind of work for me. Logic really doesn't like me today because I'm asking it to do something it's not designed to do, which is work in two files at the same time. I can't remember exactly why I went with bar 45. It doesn't matter that I went with bar 45. I just did. Okay, and I just decided to use, I think, I can't remember which is the original sample, but I think I just pressed a B a little bit higher than we'd done previously in bar 45. So I'm literally just going to record that. Okay, so I did that. As usual, I need to quantize it because otherwise it won't speak because it's before. Okay, we're probably going to want to put a little bit more gain on that. So a really easy way of doing that would be to use the gain utility. Go into utility, gain stereo, and you can literally just crank it up. Let's give it another 9 decibels, might be too much. No, that's fine actually. So we've got a little bit louder. And then I thought I'd open some delay. And I can't remember what delay setting I put on here. Why don't I look? So I'm in the robot track. It was from Delay Designer. It's 1/8 alternating pan. Okay, 1/8 alternating pan. That's all I did. Did I mean to do that? No, I don't think I did. I think I pressed the wrong button. Oh, hang on. What have I just done there? Yep. Hang on. Sorry, team. Logic's being, I'm asking it to do too many things at the same time. Yeah, so I did. There we go. For some reason I put chorus on it. You could put chorus on it. Absolutely nothing to stop you. What did I say? It's in the basics, I think. 1/8 alternating pan, if I remember rightly. That's just this. I quite liked that when I did it. What happens when I put chorus on it? Where is chorus? That'll be in delays, I suppose. No, hang on. It did it just a moment ago. Can't find it now. No, let's not mess around with things that I didn't plan in advance. And I did another one of those, exactly the same, in bar 53, which is where, bar 52, which is where the melody starts again, which gives us that in exactly the same way, and gives us, in terms of putting stuff in, gives us a finished track. I'm quite happy with that. The next stage, the next thing we need to do before our production notes, which really is going to extend the length of this video, is some mixing. Now, we've been mixing as we go through, which is good practice. You know, we've been putting in the automation as we go and that kind of thing. But before we get to specific mixing and levels and that kind of thing, there is one criterion that I want to find and mention. And it's to do with the MIDI section. Oh yeah, evidence of the selection and combination of a varied palette of sounds, including edited software instruments. Now, every sound that we have used so far is straight out the library. So in order to hit that criterion, we need to have at least one example of where you've taken a stock sound and you've changed it. And the one that I decided to go with was on this melody, this arcade attack. This bit down here. Yeah, arcade attack, the melody. So if we press B and open smart controls, we get the individual controls for that software instrument. So let me put it on solo and let me cycle it. And then really just have a play. Okay, so I've made that quite aggressive because we want it to sound, you know, like an 8-bit track, don't we? That's what we're after. That might be a bit too aggressive, actually. Let's just swap it down a little bit. Okay, so just edited it up a little bit, and definitely will look to include that in my production notes when I'm writing it up. That should apply to both. Yeah, absolutely. So just gives you the opportunity to talk a little bit about settings that you changed, what effects they had. You might need to refer back and remind yourself exactly what they all do. Synthesizers are not my normal domain in terms of playing instrument, but basically change something. If it makes it sound more like what you want, keep it. And if it doesn't, get rid of it as usual. Now my track, when the reverb dies out, is 2 minutes and 3 seconds long. So we are absolutely spot on in terms of what the brief has asked for in length. And now we can turn our attention to a bit of a mix. Now, we have been doing it as we go through. But for example, that bass line jumps out at me as being way too quiet. So I could stick a gain utility on it, or I could alter the compression, which is a much better way of doing it. So let's put on some... Let's put on this on here. Yeah, I want that a lot punchier. So take some compression, stick it on keyboards. Might want a little bit more compression on that, perhaps. Okay, and that is our finished track. Okay. Now we've got 2 phases left to go. We have the production notes and we have the edits, and we're actually going to do them in the opposite order to what I just said. We will do the 2 edits first, and then we will do the production notes afterwards. But actually, I think it might be time for a bit of a break on this video, and I think it might be time even, I don't know, I might make them as separate parts, and might make it as one massive long video and do it as timestamps. But that's certainly, in terms of creation, it's taken me longer than it took me this morning to do this. But you can see I'm still well under 15 hours. So far, I've recorded this all in one day. I think my first video was an hour long. This one, I don't know how long I've been recording for, but it feels like maybe an hour again. So even with me talking through everything, you can see that I've created something quite complicated, but only really using very simple stuff and a lot of repetition and slightly altering things. Okay, if you look at the mark scheme and the criteria, they talk a lot They talk a lot about repetition. Normally only for the lower bands, but so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use repetition, but I change things. So I transpose them up the octave, or I put them in a different voice, or wherever it may be. So it's not just a case of we've just got the same thing looping over and over and over again. It's useful repetition. That rule of 4 that I talked about earlier, where you do something for 4 bars and then you change it, you do something for 4 bars and then you change it, or you add something in after 4 bars so that your ear is always interested, is a really good way of building something pretty quickly, really, out of quite simple stuff. And remember, it's not about the quality of the music. There is nothing, he says, it's a very strong word, there is very little in this about there's nothing about quality of composition. Okay, there's imagination, there is accuracy, that kind of thing. There's creative use of automation, there it is, but there's nothing in terms of creative composition. You have to create Beethoven, or you have to create a song which is going to instantly get 1 million streams on Spotify. You don't. Okay, you are just demonstrating that you understand how to use the digital audio workstation, and that is so important. So I'll sign off for the time being, and I'll see you again in the next part where we talk about edits and production notes. Okay, so edits. Now then, there are various different ways you could do this part of the process. I'm going to show you how I would do it, and I highly recommend that you do it the same way as me. The easiest way to do this, but the worst way to do this, is to just bounce different bits of your track. Okay? You could do that really simply by just sticking on the cycle tool and bouncing out the project file. And I'm going to show you how to bounce in a minute, because some people still seem to be having trouble with that part of the project. That's not how I would do it. You want to craft an edit which is as high quality as the rest of the track. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go save as, and I'm going to say 30-second edit. Okay, and I'm going to create a completely new version of my project. That way, I can do what I want, and I can be really precise in terms of what I'm doing, and it's not going to affect my final project. Now, I already have been thinking about this. The 30-second edit, according to your brief, is for the show's opening titles. So it should be punchy, it should smack you in the face, and it should grab your attention. I think the best bit for that is this ending. Okay, now it's not 30 seconds long, but that's the bit that I'm going to use. I might add some extra bits in there as well. But so I want from about bar 41 to the end. Let's make it a little bit narrower. I don't need to. Good news is I don't need to jump backwards and forwards between Logic projects anymore doing it this way. So actually, I don't need anything of these tracks. Whoops. Always forget what it is to add to the click rather than just select in between. I don't need that. I don't need any of this. This can all go. All go. I'm going to keep that. I'm going to keep the robot. Everything else that I'm going to get rid of all of that. Delete tracks. Yes, I know there's regions on them, Logic. I've got my library open. Let's give me some more screen space. And then what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to get rid of all of this just by taking out the regions. Select all of it by going Command A or Windows A on our school keyboards. And now... Okay, now I actually think I probably want to start here. Yeah, I do. So I'm going to place some slices here by selecting all of them, cutting all of them, and then getting rid of that, bringing this back to the beginning. Right, how much time does that give us? That's 16 seconds. Right, so we're going to need double that. So actually, I might change my mind. I might use... What? How long is this? This is 40 seconds. Okay. Now, when they say edit, they don't just mean that it's just a section of the track, right? You are expected to produce something which works, right? It doesn't need to just be an identical cut from your version. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of these automation points because we don't need them. For some reason, it's not letting me click on these automation points. There we go. So we now... Okay, so we might decide that we want one of these next levels right at the very beginning. Now, what I definitely want is I want this melody to come in straight away. So I'm going to whack that in there because I want it to be present. And I want those drums to start straight away as well. So I'm going to put that in and just add a little bit of extra loopage. Okay, now we want to finish at the 30-second mark. So we want everything to end. Now, as it happens, because I've chosen 120, and I would highly recommend you do this actually, choose a multiple of 60 as your tempo, and then your 30-second and your 60-second edit will be exactly on a bar line. Okay, now it might be that you're not able to do that because it might specify in your paper that you have to do it 108 or another specific metronome mark. But if they give you the choice of anything, I would definitely do a multiple of 60 because it's going to save you some time with your edits. Okay, so we want our stuff to end at the end of bar 16, and that will give us an exact 30-second edit. Okay, so let's just try, let's see what happens. When we just I have a feeling this is not going to work with the melody. I just have a feeling. It might be we need to start the melody in a different place to make that work. How does that sound? That's no good. That's the middle of the melody, and it sounds like it's in the wrong section, as it were. So I'm going to take it out. And you know what? I want to finish with the next level. Is it end of bar? Is it bar 16? Is that 30 seconds? If I bring this in, this will be a 30-second edit. Just get rid of that. And get rid of that. I want to use the next level idea. Okay, you're not marked for your creativity on the edit. There's no specific marking criteria for it. How about if we just do that? Now, I'm giving time for the reverb to fade out as well. And that'll be the end of our 30 seconds. Okay, let's see what that sounds like. Oh, I don't like how that melody starts a bar after the loop. I'm going to need to add another bar in, I think. But that's okay. This is a loop. So in theory... Oh no. Ignore me. That's not a good idea. Aha! I know. If we put a next level at the beginning and at the end, we will have... we want it to finish at the end of bar 16, don't we? Including the reverb. Yeah, there we go. Get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. Don't know where that's come from. What's that? Got random extra region at the end there. Not sure what's happened there. Whoops. Is that audio? I don't know why I can't click on that. I think that's a phantom region. Oh no, there we go. Not sure what it was doing in there. Okay, now like I said, nothing to stop you altering things up. You might decide that actually for this one, you want a much lower next level. So I used a 12 again. I am happy with that. Okay, so I made my life easier. All right, so I'm going to bounce that. Now, bouncing, you are given some specific criteria. Make sure you follow them. Let me just open the exam paper, which I can't do apparently. Hang on a tick. Here we go. So you are given specific criteria to work with. You must bounce yours to CD standard quality, 44.1 kilohertz, 16-bit. Okay, that doesn't mean you can bounce it as MP3 files. They'll be compressed. That will not be CD quality. So let's make sure that we get this. The good news is Logic's standard settings are 16-bit, 44.1 kilohertz. So to bounce, We've done it before because we did it in the project. It's literally, it's Command B or Windows B on our keyboards. You need to make sure that PCM is checked. None of the other types. We don't want any other types. We want a WAV file or a WAV file, okay? Do not use AIFF. Do not use CAF. Use WAV, okay? It is the industry standard for this kind of thing. It is what they will be expecting. 16-bit, that's easy to see. Now, we were told 44.1 kilohertz. Right, that's 44,100 hertz. Right, everything else could be left exactly as it is. We're just going to bounce it, and it's going to say 30-second edit. Bounce. There you go. Done. CD quality audio edits. Except I, being an idiot, have left the click track running. Okay, if you turn the click track, if you have the click track on, it will be on your edit. So be careful with that. So we go to the thing again. We bounce. It's only 30 seconds, so it takes almost no time at all. Right, now note how I included in my cycle tool, right, the empty bar at the end to allow the reverb to die out. If you don't do that, you won't have a 30-second edit. You'll be short by a couple of seconds. Okay. Okay. Easy check. Open a new Logic file. Okay, and I'm literally just going to stick an audio track in, and I'm going to check its length. Again, I've got multiple audio projects open. This one, it's not such an issue. Here's our audio file. Boom. Custom. Oh, look at that. It's exactly 30 seconds long. Okay, there is our 30-second edit. Boom. Ready to go on our USB or whatever. If you're not in Linghall, whatever your teacher has given you to put your work onto. And I'm going to save that. It is a separate file. I get rid of it. Okay, where did I put that? There it is. It's on the desktop. I'm going to put it on my other desktop. Right, then I'm going to open my original Logic file. There it is. And I'm going to go File, Save As, 60-second edit. Okay, there it is. It's appeared up there. We've got our 30-second edit. We've got our 60-second edit. Just going to make it a little bit larger. Okay, now for the 60-second, the paper says that it's background music. Right, so where is it? 30-second edit was used to show opening titles. We've got that. The 60-second edit will be used as background music. I think the most suitable bit for this will probably be... Oh, it might be this. How long is that? We go from 40 seconds to 1 minute. Oh, so that's 20 seconds long, right? 20 seconds. We need a 60-second edit. So, oh, hang on. I love it when things are simple. Okay, I thought it would be this section, and if I click on this section, it just happens to finish at exactly 1 minute. How unbelievably handy is that? Remember, helped out by the fact that I chose a BPM of 120 beats per minute, which means that it's nice round numbers. And I'm just going to use that as my 60-second edit, right? Right, doesn't have to be creative. It's just, you know, it works exactly. It's precise. It's what you've been asked. It's actually a different section, isn't it? From the 30-second edit, and I think that works quite nicely. So I didn't actually really need this second project file. Oh, hang on. Might need to change the ending, because remember... we do have a reverb fade out. But you know what? it's going to be looped, isn't it? If it's used as background music, it's going to be used as loop. So I don't want the reverb fade out on this one. So I'm just going to bounce that. So again, I'm going Command B or Windows B, WAV file, 16-bit, 44.1, PCM, Bosch. Okay, let's save that, get rid of that. We'll open a new logic file. I'm just going to check it is. Why has it done that? For some reason, Logic flipped onto my other screen. That's really unhelpful, Logic Pro. You know what? It really doesn't like working on multiple screens sometimes. It really doesn't. I've kept the riser in. Might have taken the maybe I should have taken the riser out. Let's see if it loops back onto itself. Oh, I'm going to have left the click track on, aren't I? Yeah, I've left the click track on, haven't I? That's twice I've done that. Oh! Don't save. Get rid of the 60-second edit. Did I not? Yeah, I did. There it is. Got worried there I hadn't saved the projects. I'm not sure I want that riser at the end. Let's hear the ending without the riser. That's going to be better. So I've taken the riser out. So like I said, nothing to stop you from varying your version slightly. 60-second edit, bounce. Okay. Close that down. Going to save that because I chopped out the riser. Always check, right? New. Have you met the specification asked for by the exam board? Because if not, if I were marking you, and I do exam marking, if I were marking you and I'd been asked for a 60-second edit, or I'd asked you for a 60-second edit and you didn't give me a 60-second edit, I wouldn't be very pleased. Okay, there we go. 1 minute. Exactly. Spot on. And does it loop onto itself? Let's find out. Absolutely spot on. Love it. Don't need to save that. Project file. There we go. Now, do not do what at least 2 students did in the last mock. Okay? Do not forget to bounce your main project file, right? Just giving over WAV files of your edits is great, and it means that your examiner will have something to mark. Well, actually, no, it's not great. Ignore me. It's rubbish, right? You need to have them because they're really important, but you need to make sure you bounce your entire track with the reverb fade out as well. Okay, so let's just check this for a second. At the end of the track... Oh no, there isn't one. There is on the 30-second edit. Oh yes, there is. Let it have a full bar. There you go. So we want up to the end of bar 62. No, we want up to start of 60, end of 61. Right? And we bounce in exactly the same way. We check that we've got WAV. We check that we've got 16-bit. We check that we've got 44.1 kilohertz or 44,100 hertz. Okay, we've got PCM. We go yes. Okay, and we're going to call this full track. Make it really clear. Okay, because remember, when you hand in your work, do not submit your DAW file. Your DAW file is no good, right? Your logic file is no good to your examiner. We cannot possibly expect every examiner to have every conceivable DAW. Plus, also, they don't know if you saved your file project properly. I had a student a couple of weeks ago who didn't save their sampler instruments into their package, for example, and as a result, when I opened their logic file, because they hadn't bounced their main track, I couldn't listen to any of their audio, at least not what they intended. When you hand in your work, you should have, and for Langhall students this will be on a USB stick, you should have your 30-second edit as a WAV file, your 60-second edit as a WAV file, and your full track, which should be between 2 and 4 minutes, as a WAV file. And you should have a PDF of your production notes. And that is the only thing now that I need to demonstrate on this video. I'm going to write a full set of production notes. What fun! Based on everything that we have done so far. And I'm going to show you that it is possible to achieve all of this and get it done in far less time than you actually have available to you as part of this exam. I'll see you in the next part. Okay, let's talk about production notes. Now these, I cannot overstate this, are so important. They are so important for two main reasons. The first one is that they have their own section, their own set of criteria on the mark scheme. The whole final table, analysis of the completed creative process used to respond to the brief, 50 marks, black brackets, production notes. Okay, if you do not have production notes, you cannot get any of these marks, right? If you don't submit production notes, you're 0, and 15 is a quarter of the total marks. You could have the best produced track imaginable with hundreds of different types of effects and, you know, be super creative and everything, but you are going to limit yourself to a maximum of 75% if you don't have the production notes. And also, from personal experience, I find it very difficult to mark things that don't have comprehensive production notes, because if you look at application of digital mixing and plugins, which is the third set of criteria for another 15 marks, it is almost impossible to mark a lot of this without reading through the production notes, right? I can listen to 10 audio tracks and I can go, yeah, well, it kind of sounds like there's some reverb in there, and, you know, maybe there's some automation and that kind of thing. But without the production notes, it's hard for me to say exactly what was applied, where it was applied, how it was applied, and all that kind of thing. So they are so important, not just for their own set of criteria, but also for the other criteria which the examiner is going to need to refer to, or the marker is going to need to refer to be able to give you the marks that you deserve. The mark scheme is very bare, okay? This is a mark scheme that was published in 2015. They don't publish a new mark scheme for every single year. It's been the same mark scheme all the way through, and you know it's very bare. There's only 4 pages of it, 4 tables, 15 marks each, and it's absolutely vital that you are using everything from the exam paper, which happens to be here, because it matches up with the stuff on the mark scheme. So the first thing you should do is, before you start your production notes, is you should check through and make sure that you have all of these bullet points here. So you should be able to talk about your choice of instruments and sounds. Yes, we can do that. We can say why we've picked the sounds that we have to make them fit with the brief. Software instrument sound editing, have we done that? Yeah, we've done loads of that. Okay, we've been quantizing, we've been adjusting, we've been looping, we've been copy and pasting. All of those things can go in there. Specific instances of creative MIDI programming. What's that? That's creating stuff from scratch, new material to go with the samples that you've been provided. Needs to be creative. Yes, it's creative. It's very simple, but it's creative. We talked about how we use the pentatonic scale based around B. Okay, all of that. Manipulation of audio, we did plenty of that. Software samplers, yes, we use the sampler. I think I only used it once to create I only sampled the robot, didn't I? I could have done more. Probably if I'd had more than the hour that I gave myself, you have more time, I probably would have used the software sampler more. Plugins, that's any kinds of effects processing. So yes, we used compression, we've used distortion, we've used EQ, we've used, well, we could have used reverb, we didn't. Again, if I had more than an hour that I'd given myself to do this 15-hour project, I probably would have gone back and put some reverb on. I might even have used the warp reverbs, perhaps, because they're so useful for this type of stuff, but I haven't done it in this instance. It's okay. I'm not going to lose marks because I haven't got reverb. Reverb isn't specifically mentioned on the on there. And actually, I suppose I have used reverb because some of the samples, some of the library patches that I've used, some of the sounds that I've used, like for example the arpeggiator, has reverb on. So there we go. Use of mixing techniques. Yeah, we checked at the end that things were balanced. We changed one of the software instruments, so we altered its parameters, that kind of thing. Effects and automation, yes, we've already been talking about effects plenty there. And automation, we automated pan, we automated volume. There are various different things that we could automate. We could automate the effects if you wanted to. So we have a pretty good load of stuff to put onto there. So I'm happy that we are ready to write our production notes. So you have been given 3 titles, right? The 3 titles that you need to do are, in fact, you know what? I'm going to put all the question down, or rather all of the text. So I've got a Google. Why has that done that? I've got a Google Doc open. Okay, I don't know why the.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Oh, sorry, Google thinks I'm talking to him. If that came through on the microphone, I do apologise. You know what? I'm going to do this manually. Analysis of the source material. Okay, that is our first title. Response to the requirements of the brief. I can't type whenever I'm on camera. I really lose my typing ability, it seems. Maybe I should just slow down a little bit. And production techniques used, I go again, to complete the brief. Okay, 3 titles. Look at the exam paper, right? We have 3 lines, 2 lines, 3 lines, and a massive checklist. Right? It should be obvious just from reading the questions which of these is going to be the most substantial of the 3 sections. The first one and the second one are both short. They are not going to need a lot of information. It's literally, what are you working with? What do you plan on doing with it? And then what did you do? The vast majority of your content should be point 3. If you only answer 1, if you run out of time, do point 3. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be able to you're going to be able to squeeze the most amount of information into part 3. So do part 3. Right, I'm going to put the exam paper a little smaller over here. And then I'm going to whiz my... Can I really not make that any smaller than that? That's annoying. No, can't go any smaller than that, apparently. I'd like a little bit more. There we go. We can go side by side. So, the analysis of the source material. What goes in this section? You are literally just going to talk about the audio samples that you have been given. You're going to analyze them, and you're going to say what they are, anything you can pick out from them, and start talking about how you might use them. Be careful, though, not to spill over into response to requirements of the brief by giving too much information that are relevant to that question in the first question. So, our audio samples, can I put these down here? How many things can I have on one screen? Here we go. Our audio samples. Let's just remind ourselves. Okay, so the first audio sample is a percussion loop. Right, really, really simple. It's at a tempo or 120 beats per minute. Go a step further, which makes it suitable for the upbeat character. Can't spell. Ha ha ha. Lost my ability to use the English language. For the upbeat character that has been requested in the brief. Okay. It also includes a number of electronic sounds that remind me of gaming sounds. This makes this particular sample very suitable for use in our project without having to add much to it or alter it much in the first place. Done. Okay, that's it. Second one.
Next level.
Okay, the second sample includes a robotic voice saying next level. Again, just description of what's going on. Unfortunately, this sample has a number of issues. It begins with a very low rumble, which could be useful, but is probably not intended to be part of the sample itself. After the voice speaks, there is, how would you describe this? There is a whole range of unwanted sound that is not useful at all, and almost certainly will not be used in my project. Okay, done. The third sample.
Don't break down.
Okay. The third sample is a simple drum beat with a typing with a female vocalist singing the words "Don't break down" over the top of it. The sample is of good quality, but the problem is that, what have I done here? Singing the words. Problem is that it doesn't seem to fit with the brief that we have been given. Go into a little bit more detail. Computer games tend to have digital music. No, that's not true. Let's say retro computer games. Which is the vibe I get from the other samples. Tend to have digital music rather than using real vocalists. We can probably, no, not we, I can still probably make use of this sample, but it is likely that it will need some treatment or possibly to be sampled to make it fit with the brief. Okay, again, description. Now, it is very strange to listen to that in its original tempo now that we've done so much work on it to make it faster. The next sample is a synthesizer sample. Synthesizer, yeah, that works. It's a synthesizer sample. It sounds like a bass line because the pitch is quite low. The sound is electronic and a little bit distorted, meaning that it fits well with the brief concept that we know, that I have been given. Interestingly, this is at a different tempo from the percussion loop, which means that they cannot be used together without manipulation. The tempo of this sample is a little slower, feeling around 100 BPM. That's an estimate, I haven't looked it up. Okay, that's just my feeling. And the last one final sample is a very useful, what would we call it? It's a very useful extract from what could be a computer game soundtrack already. It is very useful in that it sounds ready to go and also appears to be bang on or very close to 120 BPM. That's all you need for analysis of source material. Okay, 5 very short paragraphs. I like to justify my text. Okay, that is ready to go. Now, the mock that I've just marked had screenshots of the original audio samples, right? Somebody had a screenshot of that, for example, a Finder box with all the files. The examiner doesn't care, right? The examiner has given you these files, or the exam board has given you these files. They know what they've got, right? They don't need to see traces. They don't need to see screenshots of audio traces to know what they've given you. They need to know what you understand from the source material. What is your first impression of it? What do you think you are going to do with it? Okay? Response to requirements of the brief. This will also be a relatively short section. Okay, I've got my underline on still. The brief. Now, the first. Oh, hello, Siri. Go away, Siri. I never use Siri. The brief requests that we write. Now, I'm going to keep this very short. We don't need to repeat massive chunks of the exam paper. That we write a track to accompany. I really can't type. To accompany a TV series about computer games. The samples that have been provided all suggest that the feel of this should be somewhat retro and older, perhaps inspired by the 70s, 80s or 90s. Bit of background: modern computer games use full orchestral scores and often have soundtracks similar to movies, but that is clearly not what is required here. All of the samples are useful, although some require tidying up. Although I have doubts about, no, I have concerns about how I will use the vocal sample. It may need some specific, no, it may need some extensive treatment in order to be useful. Now we have loads of stuff to talk about in that later. It doesn't need to come here. Okay. I have decided to use the tempo of 120 BPM because two of the samples are already in that tempo or are extremely close. In terms of key, only one of the samples, no, the bass synthesizer, I see it like that. What did I do up here? Synthesizer, no, it didn't like it. In terms of the key, the bass synthesizer sample is based around B minor, using the notes B, D, E, F and A. I intend to make this the tonal center. Oh, fancy. You don't have to express it like this. In fact, let's not. I intend to use this as my central key. I go back here. The brief does not require the tempo to change at any point. It simply asks that it is upbeat. Is that the word they use? Energetic. And 120 BPM fits with this quite well. Okay, now I might go back. I might add more onto it, right? If I can't think of a specific instance where I want to put something, I might come back and put it in the response to the brief. But I've done the whole first two in one page, right? That is enough. We're not going to need any more. We can put more in. We're not going to need. The crucial one is production techniques, I should say, used to complete the brief. This is where it turns into a project a bit like a Unit 2 or a Unit 13 or even a Unit 18 project. No, not Unit 18 so much, but Unit 2 or Unit 13, where you've been taking screenshots, putting them in and writing about what's going on. That's where those skills now come into being. Okay, so screenshots. This is the point that I would take my screenshots. Okay, I've done the first two. I don't really need any screenshots for the first two. I'm going to minimize it for the time being. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my project, which, because it's Logic. Oh no, there we go. I was going to say was going to appear on the wrong page. I'm then going to go through each track, right, and do a little checklist of everything that I've included on that track. So let's do this. And I'm going to make my track headers just a little bit bigger as well. Okay, and I'm going to do a narrative, a bit like what I did on the video, to be fair, when I was talking through about what was going on. Now, okay, I should probably do this, shouldn't I? I should probably change the order of the tracks. There we go, so that it looks a little bit better. Okay, so let's talk about the production techniques that I'm going to do. Okay. Do I need to make that smaller? I started underline again. No, now I've turned on italics. I started with the, what should we call it? With what I'm calling the intro sample the computer noises, voices? The computer noises that rise up. This is a very short sample, but it makes perfect sense. Oh, hang on, I've just realised this isn't very fair, is it? I'm doing this in a way that you wouldn't be able to do it. Okay. So what I actually need to do is take my screenshots. Because if you're doing this at Ling Hall anyway, that is how you will be doing things. Okay, so let's do this. Command Shift 4. There's my first screenshot. Immediately, I'm going to rename it. Intro sample with software instrument riser. And I'm going to go a step further. I'm going to add a number 1. There we go. So I know that is my first screenshot. Right, now, think about what techniques we used in here. We used almost nothing, in fact. Was it set to 120 BPM? Let's do a screenshot so we can confirm that. Project settings, smart tempo. We should have this, shouldn't we? So I'm going to go back a step. I'm going to make this one screenshot 2. I'm going to make this screenshot 1. Smart tempo settings for importing audio. Okay, I'm giving myself, I can't spell, but I'm giving myself a real fighting chance. I'm going to swap the order around so that I can nice and swiftly get everything in later. Okay, I think that's all I need to say about that intro. There's no automation. I don't think I've applied any effects to it. Let's have a little look. Nope, nothing on that. And we didn't put those effects on, but actually, we could talk about them. Three. Effects on intro riser. Okay. Moving on. Hang on, I've opened the wrong project file. Doesn't really matter, but I prefer the first one. Hang on a tick. It's exactly the same. Screenshots aren't going to make any difference. That's better. Okay, now we've got a lot of stuff to say about this section here. Oh, hang on. I'll move these around, didn't I? Okay, a lot to say. Four. Percussion and bass loops. Bass loop altered to 120 BPM and cut looped to make fit. Okay, I'm still not ready to start writing yet. Okay, I might do 10 screenshots and then I'll come back. Okay, have we applied anything in the way of effect to those? Nope. And nope. We could have done some stereo manipulation potentially. If I had more time, I probably would. Right, go back and make sure that the stereo field was nice and neat. There's something that I hadn't really considered. I was working so quickly. Could have put a nice stereo field in when I was doing my mix at the end. Probably could have spent a bit more time on that. Something to consider if you've got more time than I had, which you do. So we should be okay. Okay, what did we add onto that? We added a couple of things onto that. Okay, screenshot 5. Added arpeggiator and a drum line with compression. To the first 2 samples. Okay, there we go. Still not ready to transfer over just... Oh, maybe I should be. Okay, because that's effectively the end of our first section, isn't it? Yeah, that's effectively the end of our first section. So probably what I would do is I would then transfer all my screenshots over to my new machine. And off I go. The first production technique that I used involved Logic's smart tempo settings. This is a very useful feature which enables all imported audio to be placed at the same tempo/BPM. You can see here that I changed the imported audio setting to on plus a line of bars and beats. The project's main tempo is set to 120 BPM because 2 of the samples are at this or very close. This means that all the samples will work together and will enable me to use quantization later in the process. Okay, don't necessarily need to, I can justify when I come back. Okay, that's it. That's all I need to say. Basically, what's going on, why we've done it. So number 2, we stick it in. Here I have imported introduction sample, the rising sound effect, without editing it in any way. It's very suitable as an introduction. However, I wanted to make it sound even better. So I added a riser software instrument. To do this, I searched for risers in the instrument library until I found a sound that I liked, and then I recorded this in using the MIDI keyboard. I held two B notes an octave apart because the key center, no, the key of the sample which comes in next, the bass, is B minor, so it made sense to use the key note. When I had recorded these notes, I used the editor to quantize them, which is where the notes are snapped to the timing grid to make them in time, and I adjusted the length so that they filled the whole bar. Okay, there we go, sorted. This is a shot of the mixer for the riser track. I didn't apply these effects, they were built in, but you can see that the track utilizes compression, distortion, EQ, and delay, among other effects, to create its distinctive sound. Boom. There we go. That was a nice, simple one. What's going on here? The next step was to get the bass sample and the percussion loop working together. They fit very well in terms of character, but they were at different speeds. Fortunately, I had set up smart tempo settings, so when I put them in, they were both at exactly 120 BPM, and I could sync them up. I made some changes to the bass sample because it started with an upbeat. That's a technical musical term. I could have said because it started with an extra note. That would have told your examiner exactly the same thing. Started with an extra note that was before the main beat, but if I put upbeat in, that's absolutely fine. I got rid of this and made the loop start bang on the first beat of the bar. This left a short silence at the end of the sample, so I cut this halfway and then use the loop tool to drag out a longer section. these two tracks work very well together now. No, why would I want that there? That makes no sense. There we go. The percussion and bass loop worked well, but just having that looping for 2 minutes would be very dull. I wanted to add interest by layering up additional parts and instruments. Although we have a percussion loop, I wanted to add some drums, and I found a great patch to fit with our computer game theme in the form of Arcade Frenzy. This has a number of computer game like so I placed down a simple beat using the MIDI keyboard. Kick and snare using the MIDI keyboard, and then quantized this to fit the timing grid. Okay, do you see the kind of detail that I'm going into? Right, it's really important that we have as much detail as we possibly can. This has a number of, I've got a grammatical error there. I also wanted to add some melodic texture, and I thought a good way of doing this would be to use a funny word, arpeggiator. It probably won't like that. Oh, it does. This takes notes from chords and plays interesting patterns using just those chord notes. It can be very useful. It can be very useful to fill out texture and create interest from not much. I added an ARP called basic pattern, and I simply held down the notes B, D, E, F and A to create an interesting pattern. This was already in the right tempo because of the project settings. This was nice for a few bars, but then I decided to transpose it up an octave, which I did in the editor by selecting all of the notes and then dragging them up to +12. Okay, I don't need to say why it's +12. It's not a music course, right? Don't need any of that information. Just need to say what we did and why we did it. Okay, look how we're doing, right? I don't know how long this video is. It feels like I've been writing for about 40 minutes. Okay, less than an hour. You have 15 hours. We're cracking through these production notes. They are so important. I say use 10 hours for the creation of the track and 5 hours for the edits and the production notes. That's my preferred way. You know, we'll see, we are really, really cracking through. Okay. I'm going to zoom in a bit here. Go to the robot. Where's the robot? There it is. Quick screenshot. Minimize. This is screenshot 6. Robot sample being created. Seven robot sample being used to create baseline. The notes are used for B, D, and A. Okay, moving on. Ah, hang on. Didn't talk about the compression on the drums. Just realised that. Need to go back. I also added compression. I should have taken a screenshot of that compression. That would have reminded me to do it. So if we go to Arcade Frenzy and go to the mixer, there's the compression that I added. Okay, now if you mess up and you need to go back, use A. Okay, so this will be 4A. And then just move things around. If you like me and you want to keep things super tidy anyway. This will go in here. I also added compression to the drum track to make it pop more and appear louder. I added a rock kick preset and then adjusted the thresholds and ratio until I got the desired dynamic. There we go. Did I put the screenshot in for the arpeggiator? Yeah, I did. Or did I? It's there. Yeah, I did. Okay, that's fine. I'm doubting myself. Okay, so robot sample used. What else did we have in this section? Arcade Frenzy. Here we go. Ah, yes. Okay, let's have this. second riser. And then this bit, I'm quite proud of this. We need to get a shot of the automation, don't we? This is our You see, where has that gone? Why is that not showing? Where's my automation gone? How strange. Okay. I don't know why that's not showing. Display off. Main. Pan. It's definitely there. I don't understand that. It's there, isn't it? You can see the... Okay. Rename. What will this be? Screenshot 9. Synth melody with pan and volume automation. There we go. Anything else that I want to put in from this section? I've talked about the second riser. Nope, I think we're all good. Okay, so where were we? Robot sample being created. I thought that it was time for a new section. So I decided to drop some new ideas in. I was yet to use the robot voice sample. Oh, I need to talk about how I cut that down. And the EQ. That's really important. Can't do without that. Where is it? We're going to need to insert a screenshot again, aren't we? Where would that go? That would be 6A. So I decided to use this by sampling it. I couldn't use the sample without doing some extra work first, because the sample had some unnecessary noise on it. I got rid of most of this by trimming. However, the rumble went right through the track, so I used an EQ to roll off the lowest frequencies. And and stop them from being heard. When I had done this, I bounced the new audio in place, the muted track, in this screenshot, and then import it again into the Logic sampler. Let's pop this in here. Nope. The next screenshot shows the EQ that I used to remove the rumble. If we make that smaller, is it going to show up on the same page? Yep, there we go. Good. We are making hay. So 6, 7, let's put that in here. I use the robot sample to record a bass line. I use the notes B, D and A as they fitted with our key. I also added another track of a melodic idea, similar to chords and similar to chords but broken, and using the notes. Used all of them, didn't I? B, D, E, F and A. To this I added 2 types of automation. On the volume to make it go up and down as the melody went up and down, and I also automated the pan to go from left to right as the melody went up and down. Okay, again, nothing musical. We're talking about intervals or ascending or descending or anything like that, not at all. There's another riser going in here. This section was developing quite nicely, but I wanted it to build up to the next section, so I added another riser on a B note in the same way that I had done in the intro. This time, however, I also automated the volume to increase and so make it sound more dramatic. There we go. I've just realised it's 8:30 in the evening. I've been doing this most of the day on my holiday. Aren't I good? I think that's the end of that section, isn't it? Oh, didn't talk about the auto pitch. To record a bass line by importing it back into the sampler. I activated the flex pitch control on the sampler so that it maintained the tempo of the original file but changed the notes. There we go. Quite happy with that. Oops. Right, next up is this one. Oh, yeah, I'm going to switch to the other one for this. Oh, didn't save that. Maybe I should have done. Do you remember how I said I didn't keep it originally? Probably not. Longest video in the world. Where is it? There it is. If you miss anything out, you can always go back to it later. This is number 10. Editing the vocal sample to leave a drum beat only. I can go back to the other one now. It is better. The way I'm doing this, I'm not even sure anyone would even notice, but if they did, then, well, this isn't a real exam. So it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. Where are we? Here we are. Let's zoom into this a little bit. I'm definitely going to need that. Can I fit them all into one? That'd be really helpful. And that. And that. This will be 11. Effects on new drum loop. We had, what did we have? Yeah, we had compression, we had distortion, and we had EQ. There we go. And then I'm just going to need these here. Adding extra parts to the third section. We had a kick, we had a bass line, and we had a melody. I didn't put a number on that. There we go. This will be 13. Adding automation to return of original bass loop. We're nearly there. Rename 14, adding delay to robot. Want to start a new section here. I'm just checking I've got everything I need. Oh yeah, that's what I want. And so I decided to use the vocal sample, but as I thought, I wanted to just use the drum beat from it. To do this, I imported the track at 120 BPM as I had for the others, and then I cut the track using just the very start and the very end to create a simple but effective drum pattern. To make this sound retro and edgy, to make this sound edgy, I added a series of effects, which is this one here. Lovely jubbly. This includes EQ, distortion, which was done through a plugin called Bit Crusher, and compression to add a good boost of gain. I also added an extra kick alongside this sample to really make it pop. Just going to go back. The distortion in particular made it sound like an 8-bit video game. Video game, apparently. Video game. There we go. To build up this section, I reused the bass line from the robot sample, but using a normal software patch this time called Arcade Attack Bass. And I also added a short melody using Arcade Attack. Again, using the notes B, D, E, F, and A, and quantizing everything to keep it in time. Just realized we did some manipulation of the sound here, didn't we? Nope, that's not what I meant to do at all. So this will be 12A. Changing the default settings of the melody track, which I'm going to put in here. I realise it's not quite as easy for you to flip backwards and forwards, but you've got more time than I have. I also altered the settings of this library sound. For example, increasing the down sampling rate to make it sound metallic and distorted. There we go. I was ready to start work on the file section and decided to have my original idea return combined with the new melody that I had written. I didn't want the bass sample to come back in straight away, so I automated the volume to bring it in more gradually. I think this makes a nice return. I layered up the same drum parts as before and decided to reuse the melody I had written because I liked it. I added some extra ideas using the robot sample again, this time at close to original pitch and with the addition of some delay to help it fit the brief even more. There we go. I think that might do it, you know. Talked about all of that, that's all in there. Oh, I didn't talk about how I reuse the arpeggiators. Drum parts and arpeggiators. As before. Oh, we liked it last time. What's wrong with it? Oh, there we go. Okay. I think that has covered everything. I just then need to talk about the edits very briefly. Do I need screenshots? Why not take them? Just to show that I've been thorough. And we'll talk about bouncing as well. I don't think I've forgotten anything. If I have, I have. Have I got enough stuff? Yes. It's about quality, not quantity as well. 13. 30-second edit. Going to talk about the reverb cut there as well, because then I've mentioned reverb. And we also have the 60-second edit. And you know what? We'll do a bounce. Just to show that you know what you're doing. Rename. This is screenshot 14. 60-second edit. Bouncing. Here we go. I then needed to create my two edits. I decided that the 30-second edit should be from the end section, as it had the punchy melody. I moved a few things. No. I created a save as version of the original and cut out a lot. And cut out what I didn't need. I altered the next level sound. At the start to make a good starting sound. I used the cycle tool to select what I wanted to bounce, and I left an empty bar at the end of this to allow the reverb. There it is, of the I'm annoyed that I didn't put reverb anywhere else, to be fair. But I'm not going back now. I think I've put more than enough into this project. The arpeggiator fade out and leave exactly 30 seconds on the file. Nearly there. Nearly there. Here we go. This is the 60-second edit, which I did in much the same way, but this time I used the opening section as it is more suitable for background and also can be looped onto itself repeatedly. Again, I used the cycle tool to create the bounce. Keeps putting them in the wrong place. It's really annoying. Last screenshot. This is me creating the 3 bounces. You can see that WAV file is specified along with the specified audio parameters of 16-bit audio and 44.1. Nope. I think it's that, if I remember rightly. Sample rate 16, but I've put there we go. And that, I think that's it. Okay, now if you got this far, congratulations. If you watched all the video, damn good job. One thing, this paper does not have any specifications for what your production notes should look like. None at all. Just says word processed. Okay, some of them do. In the past, it has said double spaced or 12 size font, that kind of thing. Make sure that you've read them. For example, this is defaulted to 11 size font. Okay, so if it did say 12 size font, make sure you've got 12 size font. Okay, take a quick few minutes, no more, to check over your spelling, punctuation and grammar. Make your examiner's life easy. Read through it, check it makes sense. If you feel that you've missed anything, go back and put it in again. And then, crucially, download a PDF of it. Or, sorry, you'll be in a word processor, you won't be downloading. Create a PDF of it. Has that done anything? No. Why not? Download. There we go. It was just a little bit slow. So, at the end of your project, you should have a PDF of your production notes and 3 audio files. Yes, your 30-second edit, your 60-second edit, and your full track. 4 things on your memory stick. Nothing else. Don't put the exam paper on there. Don't leave your screenshots on there. Don't put your DAW file on there. Nothing. Right? Just those 3 things. And I am pretty confident that if I'd handed this in 2017, I would have grabbed myself a distinction. Okay, looking at the marking criteria, it's got all of the things which are in the top levels. I would have got myself, 15 marks probably for all areas. And how long has it taken me? I had an hour of prep time, and then I think my videos are about 3 hours long in total. So I've spent 4 hours on it. All right, I'm working fast, but not rushing. You've got 15 hours. That's more than 3 times more. Okay, very nearly 4 times more than I've had. And look, have I been able to do it? Yes, I have. 15 pages of production notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 18, 20 screenshots, because we had a few A's in there as well. Good evidence, ticked everything off, make sure I've spoken about everything. My tracks sound good. That, ladies and gentlemen, or just gentlemen if you're in my current year 13 class, that is how to do Unit 6.